Hello and welcome to yet another exciting episode of the program Civil Voter Education 2023 as we continue to count down to the 2023 general elections. I'm Adams Momo. This election is an election like no other. 93.5 million estimated voters. The Presidential and National Assembly, as well as the states and their houses of assembly elections, will be held in 176,606 polling units. There are 240 polling units without registered voters spread across 28 states and the Federal Capital Territory FCT. The 2023 elections promises the use of the Bimodal Voters Accreditation System BVAS, the electronic transmission of results, and the public display of polling unit results through the IREV. There is every guarantee that your vote will count, so keep your PVC safe. Remember, no PVC, no voting. On the program today, our focus will be on the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System BVAS. This program is facilitated by the Institute for Media and Society IMS and is funded by the European Union. The content of this broadcast do not reflect the views of the Institute for Media and Society nor that of the European Union. Please stay tuned.
The INEC Bimodal Voter Accreditation System BVAS will be used for verification and authentication of voters on election day. On arrival at the polling unit on election day, an eligible voter will present his or her permanent voter card (PVC) to the INEC official for identification. The INEC official shall collect the permanent voter card from the eligible voter and proceed to identify the voter by entering the voter information on the PVC into the election dashboard on the BVAS equipment to activate the process of verification. If an eligible voter is genuinely registered and belongs to the designated polling unit, the BVAS will identify the voter. The poll official will proceed with verification and authentication by tapping on the found Verify fingerprint icon to activate the fingerprint scanner and request the voter to place his or her finger on the fingerprint scanner to verify and authenticate the voter. If the fingerprint scan is successful, the BVAS will display it. If the fingerprint scan fails, the BVAS will display and the poll officer will proceed to tap on the Verify photo icon to activate the photo camera to continue with facial authentication and request to capture the voter's facial photograph. If authentication is successful, the BVAS will display. If authentication is not successful, the BVAS will display. Upon successful verification and authentication using the BVAS, the eligible voter will be allowed to proceed and cast his or her vote.
Welcome back. You're watching Civic Voter Education 2023. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has unveiled an online platform and app for the training of its officials ahead of the general elections. INEC said the app, called INEC eSchool, is aimed at enhancing the effectiveness of electoral training of its officials. The electoral body said the system is built to provide a cutting-edge experience of electoral training using face-to-face and virtual approaches by integrating text-based audio and videos. Ahead of the February 25th and March 11th general elections, the Youth Initiative for Advocacy, Growth and Advancement, YAGA Africa, has charged the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to make public and address the challenges identified during the testing of the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System BVAS. The Executive Director of YAGA Africa, Samson Itodu, made the call during the presentation of his findings on the mock accreditation exercise recently conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC). Samson Itodo, who said most of the devices were activated and configured in line with the guidelines, added that some devices failed during the activation and configuration due to hardware failures. He said INEC investigating cases where the BVAS failed to authenticate the biometrics of voters despite having the names on the register will inspire public confidence in the BVAS and IREV. The need for the Nigerian media to be more deliberate and intentional in amplifying the voices of women and ensuring inclusivity for people with disability in the political and electoral space has been re-emphasized. The Executive Director, Institute for Media and Society, Dr. Akin Akingbolu, gave the charge at a two-day workshop on sharing on good practices and trends on inclusive coverage of the electoral process for media practitioners held in Abuja. He said the workshop was aimed at re-energizing the media to give quality attention to inclusive participation in the 2023 general elections. One of the facilitators at the workshop and a lecturer, Department of Mass Communication, University of Lagos, Professor Abigail Ogwezi Ndisika, harped on the need for broadcast journalists to deepen professionalism in the coverage of women, youth, and PWDs. Now, the Albino Foundation, TAF Africa, has appealed to security agencies to help persons with albinism and other persons with disabilities, PWDs, to enjoy their voting priority rights during the forthcoming general elections. Albino Foundation's Chief Executive Officer, Jake Ekpele, made the plea during the Inter-Security Agency's training on disability inclusive election security held in Abuja. Ekpele also urged security personnel to ensure that PWDs were adequately protected to exercise their franchise during the polls, as provided for in the 2022 Electoral Act. And the Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, CAPA, has expressed belief that a free and fair election is possible in Nigeria despite the challenges that may pose as threat to its success. The group said its latest report titled 2023 General Elections, Challenges and Threats to Consolidating Democracy was informed by recent developments in the political space and the concerns that continue to grow as elections approach. Unveiling the report before newsmen, the group highlighted major concerns raised by Nigerians such as lingering fuel and cash scarcity, rising insecurity challenges in the polity, the spread of misinformation and fake news, likely manifestation of voter suppression and social unrest. But in spite of the challenges highlighted, the report notes that there is hope that credible elections can be achieved. CAPA hopes that its recommendations to critical stakeholders are taken as the country counts down to the elections.
I've heard of BVAS. I'm well enlightened about how the procedures are going to be, and I believe my vote will count.
It depends in the decision of INEC chairman. Decision matters. He took matters. If you want to do the right thing, let's for him. Because I'm not there. There are many ways to do a thing, so they can do it in their own way. But if they give us free and fair and credible election, the whole world will applaud them. Even his name will be written in gold.
Yes, BVAS is an offspring or an outgrowth of the new Electoral Act, and the experiment from recent experiences from micro-elections conducted recently, a few months ago. We are confident and hopeful that there will be a paradigm shift, a shift from the usual trend. So, in that sense, or the core sense of this submission is that we expect a progressive change from the usual tradition, whereby election is ridden with a lot of malpractices.
I've heard, but I don't really understand what it means or what it's doing.
I always tell people, as anytime you run through a terrain, a land, as you pass through plain ground, you go through a valley or mountain, as the case may be. Meaning that in life, nothing is stable. BVAS will help. The prayer is, may God not allow their cracking, evil cracker or manipulators not to hoodwink it. Because anything that is programmable can be damaged, and anything that is programmable does help. So it will help. My prayer is for Nigerians to stand their ground and be tired of this.
Yes, I've had a BVAS machine, yes. To an extent, it will. And that's what we are hoping for. That we will trust that there won't be any rigging in this election.
My name is Agnes Sam Ape, Head of Department, Voter Education and Publicity, INEC FCT. Different technologies have been used over the years. From about 2015 through 2019 general elections, what we used was called the smart card reader. And like everyone can testify, INEC is very committed to the improvement of the electoral process. So they were not satisfied with the smart card reader, and they thought about bringing an improvement. In fact, to be precise, under the leadership of our current chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, INEC makes it a point of duty to improve and redefine the electoral process technologically, because that's the way to go now. So the smart card reader was a mono accreditation device, relying only on the fingerprints. And we found out that some people don't even have fingerprints. So they thought of another way. Let's add something, another biometric indices to it. So they came up with the BVAS, Bimodal Voter Accreditation System. Like the name implies, it has two modes. It uses both the fingerprints and the facial recognition. So it is actually an upgrade on what the smart card reader used to do. Now, when you talk about bimodal or biometrics, we are talking about something, a distinctive measurable characteristic. It could be physical or behavioral, that one can actually use digitally to identify a person. Now, in using biometrics, it could have been the palms, the veins on the palm. It could be the fingerprints. It could be the face. There are contours on everybody's face. It could be the iris or the retina in the eye. So different indices could be used. But for us, we decided to use just the facial identification and the fingerprints combined. And the plus in that is that for your face, every human being has a face, and no two faces are the same. I mean, even twins don't look that much alike. If you look at it digitally, there are some distinctive differences that can be pointed out digitally. So the key asset of the BVAS is that because of that, identity theft is eliminated. You cannot take another person's PVC and come to register, or rather to vote. It has to be yours, because the BVAS will detect that. And because of this, it ensures that it is one person, one vote. If, for instance, you come to the polling unit and then you use your PVC, you go back and come back again, the BVAS will immediately detect, because your face would have been captured when you came for authentication. So it helps in eliminating that. And then apart from that, okay, the name says Bimodal Voter Accreditation System. Accreditation simply means ensuring or ascertaining that one's name is on the register of voters where he is supposed to register. And it comes in two parts. You have the verification and you have the authentication. For the verification, if I come to a polling unit now and I present my PVC, what the PO, the APO1 would do is that he will look at the last 6 digits on my card, on my VIN. Every PVC has what you call the voter identification number. It's unique to every individual. They're not the same. So they'll take the last 6 digits of the VIN and then key it into the field that is they're supposed to. When they do that, if that is actually the place where you are registered to vote, your image will pop up, your details will pop up. Although there's another way of doing it, they could also take your surname. But no, that is a bit cumbersome because so many people would have the same name. So we use the last 6 digits. And when your picture comes up, then that is the verification. You have been verified to be a legitimate voter in that polling unit. Now, the next thing is what you call authentication. What the person will do is to tap on the image displayed on the screen, and then two options will be open to that person. Either the fingerprint scanner to be sure that this is your PVC, because it must tally. Otherwise, they use what you call the photo verifier, which will capture your image and then put vis-a-vis with the one that they have. And with that, you're good to go. If it verifies that it is yours, the next thing is for you to be given your ballot paper. You go in and cast your votes. So the BVAS is actually what we call the game changer. It's an improvement on the smart card reader. Well, in the FCT here where I was, we didn't really see any challenges. I think the basic challenges were that people didn't come out as much as they should have, but then we had quite a reasonable number of people come out. One person actually tried to come back a second time, and immediately the BVAS detected it, so he couldn't. And that means it is that effective. You cannot come twice. One vote, one person. Talking about overvoting, well, if it's the Osun matter, it's a matter that is in court, so we cannot really talk about it. But one thing I can tell you is that the BVAS cannot fail, and the BVAS will not fail. I may not be able to explain what could have happened, but the BVAS cannot fail. You need to be accredited using the BVAS. And then the next thing is the authentication with your fingerprints or the facial scanner. Shortcomings of Nigerians? Well, the apathy is beginning to go off. I think they are more interested. They now see the fact. You know, we did use the BVAS during the 2022 FCT area council elections, and it showed people that their votes actually counted. The people that came out noticed that it actually counted. It works. So I think the issue of apathy is over. But one thing that has been trending is the issue of vote buying and selling. Well, people have this issue about the BVAS. They wonder, how will it work without network? But the BVAS doesn't need the network to work. The BVAS can function without it. It's properly charged, then it can work. The only issue would be when it comes to, you know, the BVAS has a tripartite function. It's the same machine that we use for registration. At that time, it's called the IVED. Thereafter, it becomes the BVAS during election. And after that, we use it as the IREV to upload the results onto the internet for the public to be able to access. So people wonder, what happens when there's no network to upload? The moment an election is over and they have tallied the results, what the PO is supposed to do, that's the presiding officer, is to take a picture of the results sheet using the BVAS and upload it. It might not go immediately, but the moment he gets to an area where there is network, it would get on air, it would go. So there's really no issue about the BVAS. We'd like to encourage people to come out and vote. Your vote will count. The BVAS is a game changer. It's an upgrade on every other thing we have used before now. If there is a fault on a BVAS, you know, it's a, how do I put it, electrical or mechanical. It can have glitches at any time. But we have something in place. We have what you call the rack techs. They're technicians who are on standby at very close range. All they need to do, the PO needs to do, is to put a call through, and they'll come to work on the BVAS. But if it looks like it's not going to work immediately, they replace it, because we also have BVAS on standby. They'll simply configure it for that polling unit, and then that's it. It carries on.
Thanks for watching. Remember, for an election to be successful and democratic, Voters must understand their rights and responsibilities and must be sufficiently knowledgeable and well-informed to cast ballots that are legally valid. I hope you've been well informed about the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System BVAS today. Join us in the next episode. This program is facilitated by the Institute for Media and Society and funded by the European Union. The content of this broadcast do not reflect the views of the Institute for Media and Society, nor that of the European Union.